Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to jump into an Adobe Express tutorial. Now this is something that if you've been keeping up with my socials you might have seen. I was at the photography and video show up in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago, and I did not one, not two, but three talks on Adobe Express and how photographers can use Express to start to create social posts and also marketing materials. Now, this is not just applicable to photographers, it's relevant for kind of any creative or business owner out there. So if you're wanting to know how you can start to streamline your socials and create your marketing materials with Adobe Express, then this is the video for you. Without further ado, let's jump in. Alright, so if you haven't used Adobe Express before, this is what the homepage is going to look like. We've got a few ways that we can get started. I'm going to show you where everything is before we jump into a sample project. First of all, you can start from any of your own files that you might already have. For example, a Photoshop file, Illustrator, InDesign, PDF, PowerPoint. If you have something you've already been creating, you can just drag and drop that or upload it here, and Express will convert that into an Express file. Now, this is not going to compress or flatten your file down. It is still going to be completely editable. It recognizes what text is, what images are, what graphics and icons and things like that are, so you can still edit and work on your file. But I want to show you the quick actions because these are super helpful to know about. You can create profile pictures. If you don't want to boot up Photoshop, maybe your laptop's a little older like mine is and needs an upgrade, you just quickly want to remove the background from an image, you can do it with a couple of clicks here in Express and then download the PNG or open that in an Express file to turn into the graphic or whatever it is you're trying to create. You could generate QR codes. Again, you're not having to do this elsewhere. Download it, re-upload it, and you could also save these as a file so that you can keep track of them and use them across multiple things that you are creating. There's also all kinds of file conversions, clip conversions. You can do resizing of images and also videos, cropping and trimming videos, merging videos together. Maybe you want to put captions onto a video like I've already done down here. So you can do all of that here without having to boot up any of the Pro tools. Like I mentioned, we can also start to edit PDFs, we can combine files, and then Firefly, of course, is in Express as well, whether you are generating a new image or wanting to edit an image you already have by removing something or inserting something with a handy, simple brush tool to just remove or paint in what you want to add along with a text prompt. And then there's generative text effects, something that used to take me days, if not weeks, to do manually in Photoshop back in the day. Now takes just a minute here in Express. So you could have your text, your hook for your social post really stand out and grab attention by looking like, these kind of metallic mylar balloons. If you want it to look like a mirror disco ball, like grass, or whatever you want it to maybe look like that goes with the theme of your post of what you're creating, then with a simple text prompt, you can do that here and apply that style. But not only that, the text is still live and editable. It's not flattening anything down. Alrighty, that is your quick actions. You'll also see your recent files and things that you've had opened. You'll see templates. There's a wealth of templates that you can use to get started from here in Express. There's something like tens of thousands. I can't remember the exact number now, but there are so many, and you can search them based on what it is you're creating. So just simply head to the search bar and you could type in, maybe you want to share your prices online. So let's go with a price list because you want to get people booking in with you, but you need to share what your rates are, right? So you could create a rate card social post. You've got all of these as examples. We can really quickly resize them, apply your branding, and then you've got your post ready to go. So you can use all of these as inspiration. If there's something you like, you want to save it for later, you can just favorite that with this little heart button here, and that will be saved into your favorites. Now, with where all your stuff is, all of your files, that's under the your on the navigation. So these are all of my files, and typically my files are things that only I can see unless I have specifically shared them. You then have projects, and projects are a bit like shared folders, shared working spaces. You can see I've got a sample one set up for today's project, the Electric Flamingo Studio. And in here we can put our files, we can connect our brand kit, we can also create and save our templates in here. We can connect our social calendars, libraries, everything all in one place. So if you'd like to organize things by project, then you can do that here, especially if you're working as part of a small team. You also have libraries. So if you are a Pro Tool user, you might be familiar with CC libraries. That might be how you're currently saving your brand assets, you know, your color swatches, your font styles, your imagery and everything that you're creating. Or your CC libraries are pulled into Express. So anything that you have in your library, you can bring into your files and what you're creating here in Express as well. And then remember that little heart button that we favorited earlier. Anything you favorite is going to show up here. And also once we're inside a file creating our assets, we can also pull in any of these kind of photos, imagery, any of these templates whilst we're working as well. All right, but you want your content to also be on brand. It needs to be consistent. So for that, we have brand kits. Now, this is something I set up a lot of my clients with, and they're super easy to use. So today's sample one, Electric Flamingo Studio, you can see we have all of our logos. So I've got all of the different logo colorways and variations and lockups. I've got the color palette, so I'm not having to hunt down my RGB or my hex codes. I've got the fonts, so I'm not going to accidentally use the wrong font when creating my social post. And then if I've got any other graphics, images, things I've created, then we can add those as well. So let's set one up together so you can see just how quick and easy it really is. And if you're working as part of a team, you only need to do this once and then it can be shared. So Electric Flamingo, and I'm going to save this to my personal storage, which is just the MySpace. If I wanted to add this into that shared project, then I would just select Electric Flamingo Studio there. But we'll leave this in my storage for now. And now all we need to do is start to add our brand assets. So let's go ahead and add our logos. It's going to open up a file window for me. Now I've got everything nicely organized in my folders here, so I can go into my logos, Command A, I'm just going to select everything. I don't need to do them one by one. And we're going to upload all of our logos just like that. Now we're also going to want to add our color palette. So let's call this our primary palette. And this is the last time I'm going to have to come down here into my notes document and copy paste my hex codes. So I'm just going to hit the plus button, paste that in there, hit save, and I'm going to do this just a couple of times for this whole palette. If you don't have hex, you have RGB, you can really easily just swap that there. But now this is bringing our swatches into where we're going to create our graphics. So again, we're going to have these exactly where we need them. So however many you have, just add them in here. I think I've got one left after this. Yeah, I've just got the kind of off-white color. Copy paste that one in. And that is now my full primary color palette. And I'm going to add this to our brand kit. There we go. Fonts, let's add our fonts. So it knows I've already been using Azo Sans, so let's do Azo because I want to add the full font family. I'm just going to click on that, and that's because it's within Adobe Fonts. If you have a brand font that is not part of Adobe Fonts, then you can upload your own font file as well. So when you go to add fonts, you've got your list, of course, and then just notice you've got this upload button down here. And then you can drag and drop in your OTF or TTF files. Obviously, you've got to tick the box to show and agree that you have a license to use that font. So that's how you can upload any custom brand fonts that you might have. And then if you have any graphics or any images, we can add SVGs, Photoshop files, Illustrator files, JPEGs, so much. So let's add, I've got a few of these kind of graphics here. Let's add these. And then I've got a couple of photos I'm going to add here as well. So I'm going to add graphic photos just to give you an idea of the different types of media that we can add that keeps it again all in one place. So this has all been added. And now if I go to my overview, we've got our full brand kit. How long did that take us? A minute, 2 minutes? If you've got everything organized in one place, it makes it super quick and easy to get this set up. But of course, you can just upload everything and find it as you're going through this process. Now, this is really handy because as we now jump in to create our social media posts, everything can be on brand because we've got all of this here ready to use. So we could go back to our home page, or we could go to the purple plus button, and we're going to make an Instagram post. Now, we all know with Instagram, there's, I don't know how many different sizes. We've got the square image for carousels and single posts. We've got portrait. There's the landscape size. There's also that super skinny kind of letterbox banner size. So who remembers that? Is that still around? Is that still a thing? I'm going to have to go and investigate. You've then got stories and reels. So you've got all those different dimensions to think about and remember, but we don't have to remember these numbers anymore because it's all built in to Express where we need it. So you can see Instagram portrait post 1080 by 1350. This is burnt into the back of my memory, but I can kind of erase that and replace it with more useful information now because this is already here for me. So let's go ahead and create an Instagram portrait sized post. So this has opened up and created a new file for us. We've got our blank page here, and you'll notice it's opened templates within our navigation with our side panel. So if you're wanting a bit of inspiration, you don't want to start from a blank page, you can of course search through the templates to get some ideas, some inspiration, and you can use all of these templates as well. You're free to use them as you wish. Maybe we want to do something like this, adding in one of our own images as a photographer. Now, hands up, guys, you know me, I am not a photographer at all. I am a UX brand graphic web designer, very much on the graphic and web side of things. So photography, it's not my skill, but this is how you can start to use your photography and start to turn it into those graphics that you can post on social media. Now, of course, we can have really beautiful Instagram feeds of all of your beautifully edited images, but you might need to give it just a little bit extra oomph to get it to stand out online, or dare I say it, make it pop. It's one of the things I really hate clients saying to me. But you've got all of these kind of templates and layouts and things that you could use and get ideas from. But we're going to go ahead and just get started with one of our own images. So we can go into our brand kit because I have added a couple of photos into our graphics. So we could add our images in this way. So I could just click this and it goes onto our page ready for us to use. You'll notice this little link icon, and that means it's a linked asset because it's coming from our brand library, our brand kit. We could also drag and drop something in from the desktop. Right, there we go, we got it, drag and drop. So you can drag and drop your images in from your laptop, from your cloud storage if you've got that set up and connected through like a link folder or anything like that. So you can bring those in. There's also different add-ons. So add-ons are third-party kind of extensions and things like that. But maybe your images are saved on Google Drive or OneDrive. You can connect your drive storage to Express, so you don't have to open that in another browser, download them, and then upload them. You can bring them straight into Express through these add-ons. So they are worth having a look at. There's a few that I use. Google is my kind of system that I'm within. I also use things like Mask Maker, Gradients, but that's built into Express now, so I can get rid of that add-on. I do a lot of contrast checking. When I'm working with other brands, I use Brand Fetch to bring their logos in. So there's lots of different things there. But we're going to go ahead and make our beautiful social post about offering photo shoots. So we're going to go with our image here, and let's resize this to fit. Now, this is a great trait, but I'm going to want to make this stand out even more. So I'm just going to play with the crop. I'm going to double click into this and just slightly play with the position. And then I want to change the background because I want this to stand out a bit more just for a social post. So with one click, I'm going to hit remove background. And then I'm going to give our page here a gradient background. So within our settings panel, this is always going to be contextual. So when I click on an image, you see we get all of these settings and controls for the image. If I have text, we'll get all of our text controls. You're not having to find your way through lots of long, complicated menus. So with nothing selected, it is our page settings. So let's go ahead and hit color, and you'll see we've got some gradients. Now I want to do one that is the kind of coral into off-white. So I can use this as a base. If I go into customize it, you can then see we could kind of amend, we kind of play with our swatches a little bit. Maybe we want it to be from one of our, we want it to be a solid color. So I'm just going to get from our brand libraries. This is the one we've set up earlier, Electric Flamingo. So if I click on this, it's my color swatches exactly where I need them to be. So for example, we've got the coral. So I could just copy this one real quick and then have that kind of go into like the off-white. So that's a F9, F7. So if I remember that for a second, if I go into my gradient and my custom swatches here, let's paste in our coral. Let's select this second swatch for the gradient, F2, F7, FF. I'm very used to remembering hex codes. So I've changed those colors, but of course you can change them by going through the color picker here. And now we can also change the direction. So you can swap the colors around on the gradient, and we can also rotate it. So I'm wanting to have the red in that top left corner and the grey in the bottom right, like that. Okay, great. I think that's giving a lot of contrast. You know, the red is really contrasting off the kind of eye makeup here, but it's also going quite nicely with the lipstick. Now let's add a message to our post here. So we're going to go on text, add your text, and let's do a message like bold color photography. And I want to make sure I'm using the right font. So again, when I click through my drop down, you'll see this B within a shield. That means it's our brand kit. And I know that all of these fonts are within my brand kit. So I'm going to go with Arzo Sans with the black weight, or if I wanted to make it bold, if that's a bit too heavy. Actually, no, I think black is quite good. And then I'm just going to want to resize this a little bit. So I'm going to change the font size, maybe down to like a 40. If I double click on this anchor at the side, we can resize it. If I double click it, it's going to size my text box to fit our message here. I just want to line this up about here. And I might change the color of this from the black to the kind of white that we have. Still quite a bit big. I'm going to hold down my option, my shift key, and just resize this with that kind of middle constraint. I think that's pretty good. And I'm also going to add some more text for a more standout message. And we're going to say big energy shoots. And we'll use our other font for this one. So view two more. I didn't add it. Oh, so I need Bebas New Regular. So I'm going to click on that one. I should have added that into my brand kit earlier because that is my secondary font. Well, for my titles, my headings, and then Azo is for everything else. And I want this to kind of really bleed off of the edges. So I'm just going to play with the sizing to get it really up against those edges there. We can of course pinch and zoom in. If you want to know the distance of anything, if you hold down your option key, you'll see you get these pink ruler guides that's telling you the distance. So I've got my text selected. If I want to know the distance between the two pieces of text, two text layers, then I could just put my mouse over this text and it's telling me that's 1019. And to the bottom of the page is 1177. So we can see all of that. Now let's go ahead and make this our brand color. And then this is a really similar shape to our logo. So if I click in brands at the side, and we'll show you all of your brand kits, and then you can go into the one that you need, which we need the Electric Flamingo. If I go into my logos, I could bring in perhaps the solid icon with the flamingo cutout, and I could size this to match that letter O. So just play around with the sizing here a little bit. I'm also going to do a little trick to change the color to match. So I'm going to use effects and duotone. And I want a custom duotone because I want it to be the same teal as we have here. So I've got my shadows as my teal color, my highlight, because it's the two colors I need, is our kind of off-white, or I could use just a regular white for this, whichever. And now I could have the logo selected. If I hold down Shift, click on the text, I can group these together so that I can move them around together. I'm quite liking this, but I want it to be behind our model. So with our layers panel, if you don't see this, just click on the layers there, and I'm going to drag this behind because I don't want it to be cutting across her forehead like that. And then we could also do a bit of repetition. If I hold down my Option and my Shift key, we could repeat this message and I could bring it along, kind of create this like stepped effect almost. So we could do like a few kind of copies. I don't know if my spacing is too precise, but that's okay because I can select all of these. Let's select all of them like that, hold down Shift, click the image so that I've now only got the text selected, go to position and just distribute them vertically. Oh, that's not really done what I wanted because it's looking at the larger space of the group. I think just eyeballing it would be all right. So let's go with the second one. I'm just going to nudge this a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? To start, big energy shoot. So this already is way more striking than just the original image that we had. And it's also sharing a message that we're wanting to post. So this is our Instagram portrait post. Maybe I also want to post this on stories or on LinkedIn or Facebook. I don't have to start this all over again and remake it. We can use the handy resize tool. So I'm going to hit this resize button here. And then let's find the sizes we want. So I'm going to go to social media and ads. Of course, we could put in a custom size. Again, I don't want to have to remember all of these. So let's go Instagram story. And then let's also go and find LinkedIn and make this for a LinkedIn post. And I want to duplicate this and resize it ×2 because we've selected those two different sizes. Now our file, we've got these 3 pages, and Express has done its best to help like reposition everything, but I'm just going to resize things a little manually so that we get the kind of desired look that we're after. Again, I'm going to select all of the text and just bring these up because I want them to have that same kind of really squeezed up to the edge, full bleed kind of look, a bit like that. So now we have this ready for an Instagram story. And then we can also use, the stickers functionality within a story to add a link to get people to like actually book in and schedule a shoot. And then we've got our LinkedIn size here. Again, I'm just going to nudge these up. So again, I've not had to duplicate a file. I've not had to do a massive copy paste. I'm just making these small little edits. And now I have my 3 pages with my 3 sizes. And if I want to, we can add a title so I can know that this is the LinkedIn one, this is the Insta story, this is the Instagram portrait post, and these are all ready to go. And now we can schedule them. So I can select this first page here, go to share and schedule post. Of course, you can download these as well if you're wanting to save them and put them to email newsletters and things like that. You can select from your channels that you've connected, which we'll go into in just a minute because I'll post it so it goes into the scheduler so that you can see how it looks. So let's say this is going to go my Instagram. We know it's going to be a post. If I accidentally selected reel, it's going to give me a warning that that needs to be a video format, and also it's going to be the wrong aspect ratio, right? It's the wrong size. So it's the post. You could also do stories, so we can schedule and post everything from within Express, which is another great plus. We can create our captions, so book your bold photo shoot and get new headshots today. That shouldn't have been in all caps, but let's generate a new caption because it's not the best. I think it could be more interesting. Oh, this is far better. Look at that. Stand out with bold new headshots. Step into the spotlight with a photo shoot that matches your energy. Your next bold move starts with headshots that speak volumes. Book today and refresh your look, da da da. Okay, I like that, but I'd probably delete the last part. So I'm going to hit insert, and then I want to get rid of that. Maybe with my brand, I don't use emojis, or we could do, because the brand is Electric Flamingo, we could add the flamingo emoji and say book today. And then we've got some hashtags. If we needed to tag anyone, if I wanted to tag the model here, then we could do that as well, just using the @ and then you start to type the username and they would come up. And then you have a few options. If you want to use a first comment for Instagram, you can type that in here. And we could schedule this to post out on our chosen date and time. So you can see we've got the calendar view and the time picker. We could publish it right now, or we could set this as a draft. So I'm going to set this as a draft, add the draft, and then this is going to go into our scheduler calendar. And let's also, just for good housekeeping, let's rename our file. So we're going to call this our bold photo shoots post. Save that. Now, if you've worked on this a few times, you've come back to it, you know, in a few days, a few weeks, you've made some tweaks, but you want to go back to a previous version that you had, there is version history. So if you go into file, you've got version history here, so you can go through everything. Since we've done a social post, we might need to check the safe zones. So for a post, you know, we're pretty fine, but for things like reels and stories, if I go to our story one here, we need to know the safe zones so that nothing is going to be kind of cut off. So if you notice, once we turned this on, we get this handy little blue guide telling us this is the safe zone. So if I wanted to, I could kind of move up a really important messaging. This is really, really important for Reels. If this were to be a Reel, if I select Reel, you know, it shows us, because we have all of the different buttons, because you have the caption expander, that you shouldn't really be putting anything in this lower third. So you can have all of those guides on and off just to check what you've got. Like I mentioned, you can do all your resizing, downloading. If it's not a social post, there's also, you'll see like guides and rulers that you can turn on as well, and margins, but it knows it's a social post because we've selected from those preset sizes. Alrighty, we've scheduled it. Before we go to our scheduler, maybe this is a layout I'm going to do a few times, but I'll change the image, I might change the message, but this might be a format that I decide to turn into a regular piece of content. We could also turn it into a template so that we don't have to start from that blank page again. So what we could do is we can say that our image here, and I'm just going to crop that down so we have a bit of space. We could lock this. So if we didn't want something to be changed, like if we were to add in a logo, for example, we could lock that and say that it can't be changed, it can't be moved, it must remain exactly there. But since this is going out on a social post, social profile, it's always going to have the profile icon and name with it. So I'm not putting, you know, a full logo into it, but we've got the little hint of our brand with our little flamingo and our O back there. So we could lock something, or we could lock it and allow the image to be replaced. So this is where the image should be, this is the space it should take up, but we can swap the image out for something else. And you'll notice it's giving a little peek of what we're going to do. We're going to turn it into a template. The same with our text. We could say that we want this to be locked. So if this, again, we want this staggered look and effect, we could lock this but allow the text to be replaced so that the message could be changed up. So again, we could go through all of our text layers here. So let's go into this one, but just click through the layers if you don't want to click, or you can't click because we've got things in front of it here, right? We can click into our layers through the layers panel, lock and allow replace. I'm not going to lock our little flamingo icon because the new message wording might not have an O in it. So I want to be able to delete that. Okay, I've done that one, two more left, I think. Yeah, so this one, let's lock and allow replace. Last one, double click into that. And you could do a right mouse click, but I'm on my trackpad at the moment. So I just want to show you can click the three dots and lock and allow, replace. Alrighty, and then this one, maybe I don't want to lock this or change it or anything like that. This could just be what it is. But if we do, again, lock and allow, replace. Or maybe we want that message to be the same and never change. this is where we could lock it. So you notice that gives it a grey padlock, whereas our other items have a purple padlock. So that's how you can differentiate between the two locks. So now if I go to share and convert to a template, this is now going to create our own template, and this is just going to be within our files. This doesn't go out to anybody else unless we're putting it into that shared project folder that we've shared with other teammates perhaps. So this is our bold photo shoot template, so you can give it a name. You can put a description of when to use it, so headshot, so like headshot with short promo message. So we can see, right, all of these are going to be within our template, all the pages, but of course you could do it with just one page. Where is this going to be? You could say that it's going to be in your stuff, so in your files, or whether you want it to be in a specific project. So if I wanted this to be in my Electric Flamingo Studio project folder, then I can select it to be there. And if I want to keep a copy of this file as well as turning it into a template, I can tick this box. But you can also edit your templates if you need to amend anything later on. So let's convert this into a template. Just like that, it's a template. So let's go and have a look. Go to location. It's going to take us into that project folder that we had it saved, custom templates, and here it is. So if we click on that now, ready to make a new social post, I can untick those two pages because maybe I just want to make the Instagram portrait post again, and then I can use template and use that as my starting point instead of a blank page. And we also scheduled it, so let's check that out. Let's go to our schedule, so more and schedule from our main menu here. It's going to bring up my social feed here. So we've got a grid view. We've also got a month view and a weekly view as a calendar. You can see I've got some ideas I've been drafting, but here is our post. So if we want to edit our caption, make any changes, we can do this here and then turn it off as a draft and actually pick a date and time to have that scheduled. And if you want to manage your accounts that you're connected to, you click on connections and then you can connect Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and TikTok. And you can connect up to 3 different accounts per platform. And then you can also have a look at some analytics via the metrical add-on. Let me just sign in really quickly here. I should have done this automatically. Might just want me to re-authenticate. Yeah, there we go. Yep, that's fine. Click on that. So again, instead of me going to pick up my phone, opening the Instagram app and going into my professional dashboard, which then means I'm on Instagram and on my phone and I might accidentally start scrolling through things when that's not what I'm meant to be doing. I just want to check, how my stats are. I want to just check the analytics of my different posts and things like that I've got going on. So you can have a look through what you have here and scroll down. Here we go. So I can see posts, like what posts are doing well. I can see how my hashtags might be doing, so the hashtags I've been using, what's helped with organic views, got summaries. So you've got some analytics here as well. If you've liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, like, share, and follow for more, because there will be many more tutorials coming soon. Thanks and have a good one. Bye.